but I had a dream, that something bad was going to happen to me. And I immediately woke up out of the dream. And the first thing I thought was, I need to stop, being contentious or having, there should be no argument. An argument takes two people. You know what I'm saying? So for me, as the wife, as the submissive one to my head, right? I need to know when to just hush.
Titus 2 and 1. But speak thou the things which become it sound doctrine, that the aged women likewise, that they be in behavior, as become it holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed, chaste conversations.
Shalom, sisters.
Shalom.
Welcome back to Chase Conversations, everybody. Welcome back to Chase Conversations. Tonight we're just having a reading with our sisters. Follow along in your King James Version Bibles, Esther chapter 1. And before we bring that out, if Sister Larissa, you mind bringing out Mark chapter 3, verse 27?
No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he be first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house.
All right. Now it came to pass in the days of Azarias. This is Azarias, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 and 20 provinces, Salat. That in those days when the king Azarias sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace. Number 3, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. 4, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. 5, and when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, but unto great and small 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
Where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver, rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black and marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance. I never heard of royal wine. According to the state of the king, and the drinking was according to the law, none did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. Also, Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Agatha, Zithar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti, the queen, before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princes her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Oh. But the Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Then the 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. 14. And the next unto him was Karshina, Shethar, Admantha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face and which sat the first in the kingdom. 15. What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law, because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains?
Okay.
And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen had not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are all in the provinces of the king of Ahasuerus. 17. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported. The king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. 19. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. Okay. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small.
Mm. And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house. Write that down. And that it should be published according to the language of every people. Let's put a pin in that.
I guess from a worldly or like a modern society point of view, it's a basic, I guess you can say, start or narrative of like the wife not doing as the husband says, but in this case, he's a king, and the king pretty much is allowed to make decisions, and everyone has to pretty much obey them. So her not wanting to go to see him when he calls for her, according to them, is a sign of disobedience and rebellion, and the men sound like they're afraid, or they think the women will hear of her action and do the same thing, which would probably be misunderstood, but still be seen as, oh, if she doesn't have to, then I don't have to, for whatever the case is.
Constance, which is what we see a lot of in our society, right? We see a lot of that, and they're spreading that on TV. They're spreading it on you know, the movies we watch, the television shows we might watch, you know, they putting it in your face that, hey, you could do what you want to do, you could speak the way you want to speak. But what is TV show again? I have not watched it in a while, and I used to watch it so much. Love and Hip Hop, the housewives of this and that state, you know, all these people on TV, how they paint this picture like they could do this to their husbands, right? They could live they want to live. And even down to what we just saw, the groping that Mr. Usher had with Sister Alicia in front of everybody, that this is okay, you know, like that's painting the picture that this is fine. So, okay, so if she could do it, then I could do it too. My husband shouldn't have a problem with me speaking like this or being groped by another man. He knows what it is, or at least I'm coming back to home to him. I don't know, you know, what the magic is, but it's spreading like a wildfire, right? And this is what he didn't want. They was like telling the king, listen, if she doing this in just to you, it's gonna be to everybody else. And this is why they promote this sin to our people, that, you know, you don't have to listen to your husband. You could go ahead and, you know, go back and forth, and you gotta know when to just zip it, you know, at least for us. And it's hard to do that because we were not trained that way. We're not raised that way. And I'm sorry, we don't automatically know that because we know we Hebrew Israelites and we're in our head right now. Okay. Yes, the word says what it says, but it's still a progression. You still have to get rid of that filth, at least for me, right? I need to make sure that I'm in my place, because then, like we just read here, right? He won't have rule in his house. You know, if I'm being, I think the word I was using here was contentious, right? Contempt and wrath was the word that came up here, yes, in verse 18. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. So now we have that because the household is out of order, right? Because I feel like I'm right, or whatever it is I want to think. Okay. Our sisters out there feel like, oh, she doing it, she on TV doing it, or she next door doing it, or this sister ain't doing it, so I could do it too. And it just spreading because we're looking at the wrong people. We have these people as role models when they're not models at all. Okay. See that? This was his home, and you see how that fire would have, got started. He put the fire out before he even start. So there weren't even a fire to put out, you know? He recognized, and that's what we have to recognize is that, okay, they have to make sure there is no fire in the house, you know, and make sure I part of the flame. You know what I mean? So our praises to the Most High. This was not what I intended it to be at all, but our praises to the Most High. So that took me back to Mark 3:27. What we just read, sisters. Mark 3:27 says, no man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods. This was his goods, his household, right? His wife, okay? Except he will first bind the strong man. Now, we know the adversary does be trying to use the woman like he did in the garden, right? Use this woman to get to the man. That's binding the strong man. Because that man is now helpless now. I mean, picture it. You see them movies where the woman is helpless and, you know, what, Lois Lane, or whoever. She helpless and all of this, and he can't do nothing. His hands tied behind his back, right? Because she was the reason why she out there getting caught up right now, or he out there getting caught up right now, because she was not in line. Oh, don't go to the store at night. I don't appreciate you going at night. You know, I understand we need stuff, but things go on at night, so maybe stay at home, and she decide, well, I'm gonna do it anyways because I want to get whatever. And then you end up with a flat tire down God knows what dark hill, and now he got to go out in the, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so bringing something into the house that does not need to be there because you didn't follow instructions. Sister Chaya.
I was looking at my notes and I don't know when hold on. Okay, so I do have a date on there, but y'all, he write notes. But I remember reading some of the verses in like verse 17. I had made a note, and whenever I read it or was listening to a study with people, it was kind of like this could be related to or be synonymous with like what the feminist movement would have looked like back then. But this first chapter, for me, because there's context, but there isn't context. And one of the things that does stick out as obvious is that we're dealing with Persians and Medes, and what it sounds like they have a commandment for everything. So like we were just talking about, our Israelite men are supposed to protect us and keep us from harm's way. And our culture doesn't allow us to boast or brag or use vanity as a means to show our wealth to the people, right? So sometimes when I read those verses in chapter 1, it has me going, you hear people using that, like, don't be a Vashti, and you're trying to use those, or how they do that with Jezebel, don't be like them. Like, well, we don't want to get those traits, but those women aren't us in the first place, right? So it's kind of interesting sometimes when you go back and read it, and the foundation that we just originally talked about was making sure we are agreeable and submissive, and kind of moving with our husbands to lead us, and even be a guidance or an advisor to them, right? And our children. But sometimes when I read that, I also look at it from a perspective of, was he trying to show her off? Because if our men are doing that and trying to so-called parade us around, you know what I mean, just because he's a king, is that righteous?
God. Anybody have anything to say?
There was a royal edict that was written beforehand that, I guess regardless to whatever was going on, if her husband, even though he wanted to show her beauty off to everyone, she did not want to go because she knew that it was like a drunken brawl. She knew that, and she didn't want to do that. I think she disrespected, but because of the royal edict that was already in place before her time, she had to do that. Otherwise, she would, like Mammy Ken said, she would come to war. She would no longer be queen.
Yeah, I remember reading about that as well.
Reading about what? About
the royal edict.
Right. So it wasn't just like a normal party. There was actually some
drinking,
debauchery, and heavy drinking, meaning like what we were already looking at it like he was trying to show off in a lustful way, or in a boastful way, or in a vain way, but because that was what Amma was saying, that was in their customs, that was already in the decree of, this is what you're going to do as a wife. This is one of the things, and they're really drunk, or they're drinking a lot at this particular feast, and she refused to show up. Now, again, there's no context with it. Was this the last straw? Was the first straw? We don't know none of that, but she just didn't do it.
Yeah, so we can be, so again, this is not our people, and I'm glad you brought that out, Sister Chaya. But again, you couldn't be merry because it says wine was made to make man glad and merry. But is that I guess for me, I didn't gather from that. I don't, and then this is only the first chapter that it was meant to be something that was what's the word you use, to degrade her in a type of way. I guess I didn't see it that way. I'm taking it in the fact just for face value of, you know, was this her first time doing this? What was it just because, again, he is king? You have a queen. You are not going to sit there as king on your throne and your queen is elsewhere just drinking wine off by herself. This was a gathering, right? And you expect your queen to be there. Everybody was there. You know, the thing is, if your husband is giving you and this was a queen that was being summoned by her husband. Again, I can't say if it was for carnal reasons or whatever it is. I'm not gathering that, but again, pertaining to our culture, because that's all we could do. Once you have that little bit, if you tell your husband, no, I'm not coming out there, and this is a royal thing, okay? You don't see the king without his queen. And what's the people gonna think, well, what's going on? Is she sick? Why she ain't out here? At least, sitting next to you on the throne, at least came out, show her face for 15, 20 minutes. We
No,
see that. We see that. You know what I'm saying? I see you got your hand. Mhm.
in the first place, he should be even summon her. She should be out there with him. Since you're the queen and he's the king, she should be out there with him. He shouldn't be sending for her.
Mm.
If they're having a royal function or whatever, the queen's supposed to be right there with the king. He shouldn't be out there by himself alone. Does him have to summon her for her to say, well, she's not coming or whatever it is. She should be right there by his side.
Again, we are talking about our people. Put it in that context. Because that's why we brought out them examples. They're not showing the Medes or the other nations fornicating like this on stage, or trying to paint a picture that it's okay to be what you call it, promiscuous in public, or talk to your husband. They're not doing that to any other nation. They're doing it to us, right? They use our people to portray to our people that this is how it should be. So that's where we're trying to put this to. We're using this, but putting what actually happens in our community, because this is what they're portraying here, is that it's okay to be a Vashti. You don't have to listen to your husband, right? But then how can he have rule over his home if he's not able to rule over his goods?
Mm-hmm.
And that might be putting that kind of harsh the way it came out, but his possessions, as the book says, possession. Probably still would have been there as queen had she just gone out there and did a little twirl on the stage or whatever it is the queens do. I mean, you signed up for the job. Did she not? I mean, again, in the Israelite culture, we had kings back then. If you tell your king, listen, I ain't going out there, I ain't doing whatever it is you want me to do, I don't know how far you're gonna get, because it says if she will not go as you would have her go, give her what?
Like what sister was saying, when it's like if our king is out there and there's an actual party going on, yes, we should be together as one. I know in a lot of movies we see that. I don't know if that's culturally a thing either, or if that's a royal, like a united thing, that they always have to be together, because I don't know if this was just this sounded like a party that he did, but not not an actual like holiday, so to speak, or a festival for whatever they were honoring. He just decided to show off a bunch of stuff and have a party. So because you're having a party or you're having a feast, there are laws within when you celebrate a feast in the kingdom under the royal commandments.
So just bringing it back home for us, okay? Just bringing it back home for us. What would that mean for us? The law says, boom, he shall bear rule over you, right? And you stated too, sis, you hit the nail on the head. It's this disobedience, it's rebellion, which is as witchcraft, right? And you even brought out the example of, it reminded me of the feminist movement, because there she is now, high and mighty in her high heels and her high horse, and thinking that she could party like the men and do what she wanted to do and start a whole movement. And he was like, no, y'all got to go have that movement over there, you know. Okay. You don't need a
I
king,
guess
you don't
she's
need a
tired of
man.
him showing her off.
What's that, Sister Venice?
I guess she's tired of him showing her off because she knows she's beautiful and he always showing her off. So I guess she's saying to herself, well, he's out there drinking and drunk and I'm to go out there. She could have said, I don't into what he's up to right now because he's the king and if he's drinking and drunk, how can he protect me? Maybe she thinks
That's a good point.
something may happen out there if she go out there because if that are drinking out there and your husband out there and him drunk and you go out there, how can he protect you? So she said, you know what? I rather not go out there because he had so much alcohol in him or so much wine or so much whatever. Who to tell? Maybe make me go out there and somebody else maybe want dance with me or twirl me around or whatever and it get out of control. So she said, you let them stay there, I'm staying here, I'm not going. But she paid the consequences for it because yeah. It happens same way in life here, you know, you suppose may carry you somewhere and just carrying, oh, this is my wife or this is my girlfriend. You get so tired of him even carrying up to somebody, you just been showing off all night. You lost interest of even the party or the dinner or whatever you get. You always, oh, this is my wife, this is my wife. You
Yeah.
understand? And then the time you go to a function, where's your wife? Where's your wife? You know, people starting to say, he always have his wife and always showing off. Well, what happened tonight? Sometimes you're tired of it. You just tell them, so listen, you're alone going to that function or you're alone going to that meeting because, you know, sometimes you're really tired for you really meet people. It's not really disrespect, but this long talking and you know, when men go for talk, oh my God. You have to be standing there waiting on them and all them stuff. And you won't get all that heels and all them stuff that says, yeah. So, but you know, I said we have to brace ourselves for what is ahead of us, what is required of us as a wife towards our husband. We just have to just suck it in and wear comfortable shoes if we're going somewhere. Because if we know your husband is a talker and gonna talk, just tell yourself, so, well, I'm gonna go out there tonight for whatever it is. I'm gonna make myself comfortable to stand the hours and just listen. So
Hey,
yeah,
sometimes that's what your
I
role
guess.
call for, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like you exactly, like
Yeah, yeah.
you have some sisters right now, their husbands are powerful men. Listen, what the
Mm-hmm.
True 27 say? Strong men, the strong is boisterous, mighty, powerful, valiant men on the highways and hedges. They're leaders in different camps right now, you know, and they have wives and they have
Mm-hmm.
duties that they have to fulfill being this man's wife. He's going to require certain
Mm-hmm.
things. It's not going to be the same thing that is required by, you know, maybe another sister sitting in the, you know, that's in a different seat. But you know, as long and again, just bringing it back to our culture, how this relate? How can we relate this to our culture? Because we are still supposed to be obedient to our heads at the end of the day, right? I see you, Sister Chaya.
You know what I found interesting? Another good principle, and it's not necessarily out us, but when the king was upset that the Vashi decided not to bid or show up. Um, what I found interesting was that his advisors and his trusted, I won't call them peers, but the people that are closest to him, whom the other princes and things of that nature, whom the feast was for, they kind of all rallied around each other. So think about it. We have some households that some men do it all on their own. Maybe they don't have a lot of friends to rely on or a lot of people that can advise them. But when you have a group of men that are like, hey, you know what, maybe you shouldn't do, or you know what and they're actually all on one accord in the sense, oh, don't forget, you remember you wrote this thing. And, just showing you that even someone that's in that prestigious position, they have people around them so that one, to keep them abreast, because it is a lot of information sometimes you can forget. Two, they're there to hold each other accountable or be watchmen. And those are the good characteristics that our culture strives for.
and likes to maintain because it's a community. So what I found interesting is that there was some similarities of, now you fast forward to modern day where we're all mixed up and mixed around. You can have that negative version where we could be those same people exhibiting the characteristics of this king,
Right.
doing all the things that we're not supposed to do. But then you got your friends around you like, oh man, don't let the girl say that. And she might be wrong too, or she might have a thing, but they're telling him, they're in his ear. So you can look at obviously both sides of that, but trying to stay more on the positive of like, it's great when you can see the men in your life, whether it's your spouse, your child, or a relative or a friend, have a group of positive people or of sound mind to kind of help be there and uplift and empower and move around like you're supposed to.
No man can enter, Mark 3:27. No man can enter into a strong man's house. Okay. And let's just picture that. No fire can come in these walls. Nothing can break you apart, tear down this house from within unless you let it. And we're reading that. No man can enter into a strong man's house, right? Your husband, your head being a strong man's house, right? What you dwell in, and spoil his goods, right? Who's his goods? Who is his goods? Okay. Except he will first bind the strong man. That devil was trying it through Vashti. And this is what Shaya says. He had people around him like, that's the devil right there. You need to recognize when he coming through your wife. She rejecting your command, and she, you know what I'm saying? And all praises to the Most High that we waking up and have brothers out there that's like, bro, that ain't right. Maybe y'all should try this. Maybe you should talk to her about that. Maybe you need to do this because you ain't ruling your household this way, whatever it is. And we could come together and say, you're wrong for doing that. You shouldn't be going back and forth. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff, right? That's letting the enemy come in where your husband will have no rule over his house because he don't have no rule over, you. Until next time, same place, same beauty. Chase Mid is our
duty.
Hey.
Oh, you remember?
Duty.
Oh, that's duty. All praises. Shalom, beautiful.
Shalom. Shalom.
Shalom.